Mr. President, I rise to speak on a special day. Today's my wife's birthday. Today is National Freedom Day, when we recognize President Lincoln signing the 13th Amendment banning slavery. And this is the reason that we celebrate Black History Month in February. Today, February 1st, begins American Heart Month, acknowledging the great heart of the American people as well as the need for health care. But today, February 1st, is also the first day of World Interfaith Harmony Week. In 2010, King Abdullah II of Jordan spoke before the UN General Assembly, and he asked the UN to declare a week every year to promote understanding and tolerance between the world's religions. In his speech before the UN, this is what King Abdullah said: "It is also essential to resist forces of division that spread misunderstanding and mistrust, especially among peoples of different religions. The fact is, humanity everywhere is bound together, not only by mutual interest, but by shared commandments to love God and neighbor, to love the good and neighbor. What we are proposing is a special week during which the world's people in their own places of worship could express the teachings of their own faith about tolerance, respect for others, and peace." The resolution was adopted unanimously at the UN General Assembly, and all nations, religions, and peoples are asked to observe it. Mr. President, by happy coincidence, as you know, King Abdullah is in Washington right now. He visited with senators here at the Capitol yesterday and today. Earlier today, I met with him, and I told him I would speak in his honor in the hopes that his words might inspire us at a challenging time. As the word of last Friday's executive orders regarding immigration and refugees, orders which implemented the president's campaign rhetoric to implement a Muslim ban, shocked the country this weekend, I traveled to Roanoke and Blacksburg, Virginia, communities in the southwestern portion of my Commonwealth. I was there to meet with local health care providers and students pursuing health care careers. I had planned the trip to go talk about the Affordable Care Act. But at my first event, two families came to me with a concern. Working together with Roanoke Catholic Charities, they'd helped settle a Syrian refugee family in Blacksburg 1 year ago. The Syrian family was a mom and dad and 4 kids. These sponsors told me how well the family was doing and how welcoming this community was in bringing this family to Virginia and taking them in. The employer of the Syrian father runs a construction company, and he hired him to do construction work. And he told me, and he was kind of chuckling about it, he said, "Senator, not all my construction crew has politics just like mine, but I'll tell you what, no one better say a bad word about their Syrian coworker around them." And he went on to describe how the employees at his construction firm had done a number of things, including collecting funds to help the children have soccer shoes there in Southwest Virginia. But, Mr. President, they didn't tell me this story because it's a happy story about resettlement of a family, although that is a point of the story. Here's why they came to see me. The community was poised to welcome a second family from Syria, a mother, father, and 5 minor children, to meet them at the Roanoke airport tomorrow and help them find a home in the United States. The family that they were meeting tomorrow, that they were supposed to meet tomorrow, these refugees had fled Syria 4 years ago. They've been living in a refugee camp in Jordan, undergoing 4 years of vetting in the hopes that they could come to America. And now their sponsors pressed papers into my hand and said, "What will happen to this family? Are they now shut out of a dream that they worked for years to achieve? Are they now shut out of our desire to offer them Christian hospitality in our own community?" We've been working to get answers to these questions, but as of today, we know nothing about this family's fate. There's so many questions I struggle to answer in the aftermath of these orders. The orders single out people based on their Muslim faith by targeting primarily Muslim nations and allowing exceptions to be made for Christians and other religious minorities. Why? The orders single out 7 countries, countries where citizens have been exposed to genocide and other crimes against humanity, while leaving countries that have actually exported terrorists to the United States untouched. Why? The order was applied to legal permanent residents of the United States until clarified, and also to brave people who had helped American soldiers on the battlefield, thereby earning a special immigrant visa status. Why? We can have security procedures that are based on the danger of an individual rather than on a stereotype about where they were born or how they worship. Mr. President, I am called to reflect on these events by King Abdullah's words, suggesting that the world should work this week to recognize World Interfaith Harmony Week. He told us today that the order is being viewed with deep anxiety in his country, which is one of our strongest allies in the Arab world, indeed in the entire world. And I'm called to reflect on these events by my own citizens in Roanoke and Blacksburg, who, working out of a faith commitment with a church group, just want to serve others in a way commanded by their faith and by all faiths. Mr. President, at your desk there's a couple of books. There's Rules of the Senate, and there's also a Bible. And in a week where all are called to reflect upon their own religious traditions of tolerance and peace, there's wisdom in that book for our nation. Exodus 22:21, you shall not wrong or oppress an alien, for you are aliens in the land of Egypt. Leviticus 19:34, the alien who resides with you shall be as a citizen among you. You shall love the alien as yourself, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. Deuteronomy 1:16, give the members of your community a fair hearing and judge rightly between one person and another, whether citizen or resident alien. Deuteronomy 10:18 and 19, for the Lord your God loves the strangers, providing them with food and clothing. You shall also love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Deuteronomy 24:17, you shall not deprive a resident alien or an orphan of justice. Deuteronomy 26:5, a wandering Aramaean was my ancestor. He went down into Egypt and lived there as an alien. Matthew 2:13-23, Jesus begins his life as a refugee fleeing into Egypt. And Matthew 25:34, I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. The traditions of this nation and other nations, religions, and people point us in the same direction. Pope Francis reminded us of these very words when he spoke to us in the fall of 2015, and he told us, as individual leaders and as a nation, that the yardstick we use to measure and evaluate others is the yardstick that will be applied to us. Mr. President, on this opening day of World Interfaith Harmony Week, I pray that we commit to peaceful understanding and appreciation of people of diverse faith backgrounds. I pray that the unjust immigration orders that target suffering people based on where they were born or how they worship will be rescinded. I pray that Congress and the administration will work together to set up appropriate security procedures that do not discriminate on the grounds of religion or national origin. And I pray that we'll be true to our best principles and not sacrifice them for the sake of politics. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor.